The world stood still on a day no one ever imagined would come. A silence spread across continents, cities paused, and millions found themselves asking the same impossible question: how can a legend like Chuck Norris truly be gone? For decades, his name wasn't just associated with strength, it defined it. He wasn't just an action star, he was a symbol of resilience, power, and an almost mythical invincibility. So when whispers began circulating about his burial and funeral, people didn't believe it. They couldn't, because in the minds of many, Chuck Norris was never meant to fade. He was meant to endure forever. But reality, as it often does, brought a moment of reflection. The news, when it broke, wasn't loud or dramatic. Instead, it spread quietly, almost respectfully, as if the world itself was trying to process the weight of it. Social media filled with tributes, memories, and disbelief. Fans from every generation, those who grew up watching him dominate the screen and those who discovered him through legendary internet facts, came together in a shared sense of loss. The funeral was not just a ceremony, it was a gathering of history. Held in a private yet deeply meaningful setting, it brought together family, close friends, and a select group of individuals who had walked alongside him through different chapters of his life. The atmosphere was heavy with emotion, yet there was also a quiet strength, something that felt undeniably fitting for a man who had spent his life embodying courage. As the service began, there was no need for grand speeches or over-the-top tributes. Chuck Norris had already said everything he needed to through his actions. Still, those who stepped forward to speak shared deeply personal stories, stories that revealed not just the fighter the world knew, but the man behind the legend. A devoted family man, a disciplined martial artist, a person who believed in integrity, faith, and standing strong in the face of adversity. One speaker recalled how Chuck never sought fame, it found him. Before Hollywood, before the iconic roles, there was simply a man committed to mastering his craft. Martial arts wasn't just a skill for him, it was a way of life. It taught him discipline, respect, and focus, qualities that would later define his career both on and off the screen. And even when he became a global icon, those core values never changed. Outside the venue, fans gathered in quiet tribute. Some held candles, others wore shirts bearing his image, and many simply stood in silence. There was no chaos, no shouting, just a shared understanding that they were witnessing the farewell of someone who had left an indelible mark on the world. It wasn't just about movies or fame, it was about inspiration. For many, Chuck Norris represented the idea that strength isn't just physical, it's mental, emotional, and deeply personal. Inside, the ceremony reached its most emotional moment as family members paid their final respects. The room was filled with a profound stillness, broken only by soft sobs and whispered prayers. It was a reminder that beyond the legend was a human being, a father, a husband, a friend. And in that moment, the larger-than-life figure the world knew became something more intimate, more real. As the service concluded, there was no dramatic ending, no sudden closure. Instead, there was a sense of continuation. Because legends like Chuck Norris don't truly end. They live on through the stories we tell, the memories we share, and the inspiration they leave behind. His legacy isn't confined to a single moment or a single place. It exists everywhere his influence has reached. Even after the burial, conversations continued. People revisited his films, shared clips of his most iconic moments, and reflected on what made him so unique. It wasn't just his strength or his skills, it was his presence. He had a way of commanding attention without demanding it, of inspiring without preaching. And that's something that can't be replicated. In the days that followed, tributes poured in from across the globe. Celebrities, athletes, and public figures all shared their memories and admiration. But perhaps the most powerful tributes came from everyday people, those who had never met him but felt as though they knew him through his work. They spoke of how he motivated them, how he became a symbol of perseverance during difficult times, and how his legacy would continue to guide them. And maybe that's the most remarkable thing about Chuck Norris. Even in farewell, he continues to inspire. Even in silence, his presence is felt. Because true legends don't rely on physical existence, they transcend it. So while the world may have gathered to say goodbye, it wasn't truly an ending. It was a transition, a shift from presence to legacy. And if there's one thing everyone can agree on, it's this: legends never die. They simply become stories that live forever. And Chuck Norris? His story is far from over.